I'm John Weimer, here today representing your Carrier dealers. Today we're going to talk about the common things you can check as a homeowner before you request a service call out to your house. Now, there's a lot of things with your system that you can take a look at before calling out that it's not very technical, but you can sometimes solve your problems beforehand. The first and foremost is checking your thermostat. Make sure you have that temperature set above your room temperature or below, depending if you're heating or you're cooling, to verify that the system is getting a call to turn on. You want to check your breaker panel. Make sure your breakers aren't tripped. A tripped breaker is normally in the middle position, whereas an on breaker would be pushed all the way to the left or to the right, depending on your panel. You want to make sure that on an outdoor air conditioner that you don't have a bunch of bushes growing up around it, or if you've mowed the grass or you got a lot of cottonwood around that grass clippings and cotton is not stuck to the side of the coils. That can actually cause an airflow issue and cause the unit to shut down prematurely. Inside at your furnace, you can look to see, do you have ice on your refrigerant lines that come in. On this furnace here, the lines are on top. Depending on how your furnace is set up, your lines may come in on the bottom. But either way, you're going to have a plain copper line and a black insulated line. If you ever see ice on the black insulated line, you need to shut your system down. That's indicative that there's a problem with the system, either with the charge or the airflow or the motor or something like that. And you really need to shut the system down right away, because you can cause a lot of harm if you could let it continue to run that way. Other things you need to check for is make sure that your power is turned on to your furnace. Not every furnace has a power switch on the side of it. This one does. If your breaker panel is close by, normally they won't put the switch there. They'll just let you do it on the breaker panel. Other things to look for is if there's moisture leaking down from the humidifier or from the air conditioner drain or from the vent pipe drains. Things like that are showing that there's a problem somewhere in the system. A lot of furnaces have built-in safeties that monitor that moisture. If there's too much water that gets backed up inside of it, it will shut the furnace down. Same goes with air conditioners if they have a special wet switch on it that will shut the system down to prevent any further damage. But it's things like that that you can check, and sometimes you can remedy yourself. Other times you may be able to call your service provider up and say, hey, my furnace is doing this or it's doing that, or I've got water here, and they can lead you in the right direction to either help you solve it over the phone or go ahead and start a work ticket to come out and address it for you. A lot of the newer furnaces have built-in diagnostics, so if the furnace were to go out on a high limit or a pressure switch or motor not working, it will actually tell you that via a fault code, and we'll get into that here in a second. Another thing that you can look for is your air filter. Every furnace has got one. Airflow is absolute key on any heating and cooling device. Everything is basically built around airflow. And when you don't move enough air through the furnace or through the air conditioner, it can actually cause a lot of harm to it. On air conditioning, if your filter is plugged up, it'll actually reduce the airflow going through the coil, which will cause the coil to get colder, and what will actually start forming ice. And that ice will start compounding on itself and growing more and more ice, reducing even more the airflow. Ice, you like to think is nice and cold and keeps your house cooler, but it's actually really bad for an air conditioner. That ice will prevent refrigerant from boiling off, and it'll actually send liquid back to the compressor, and that can take out a compressor within a few moments. So ice is a really bad thing. That's why you need to turn it off. On the other hand, if you're in heating mode and your filter's plugged up, it reduces the airflow and your furnace actually runs hotter. Some people think that hotter is better, but really it's not. If you've ever driven home and turned off your car and you've heard your car just sitting there ticking away, that's the metal expanding and contracting on your exhaust system. There's a metal heat exchanger in all your furnaces, and as it heats up and cools down, that metal expands and contracts. You don't necessarily hear it ticking, but it does. When you have lowered airflow because of a filter, your metal will expand and contract a lot more than what it was designed to. That's how you end up getting cracks in your heat exchanger. Cracks what cause carbon monoxide getting into the house. So a dirty air filter, the simplest thing on a system, can actually play a huge role in how soon you need to change your furnace out. If you don't change your filter, it'll run too hot, get a cracked heat exchanger, and you may need to buy a new furnace then. So those are little things that you can check beforehand and make sure you stay on top of. We'll get into this furnace here, and we'll pull the front cover off and show you where the diagnostic light is at. Not every furnace has them, but ones that do, they normally have a cheat sheet on one of the back of the doors that tell you how to interpret that diagnostic light. So we'll take this cover off real quick. And in this furnace here, like I said, we've got our power on the side here. It's advisable not to turn off the power at this point. Turning off the power in a lot of the furnaces will actually reset the fault codes, and you won't know what is going on. There's nothing you can get electrocuted in here as long as you don't start poking your fingers around. At this point, you're just looking. So in this case here, we've got our burner compartment on the top, and our control board is all located in the bottom. And we've got a little clear window that has an amber light behind it. Different manufacturers use different colored lights, but all use the same basic idea of how they do diagnostic. They're going to start flashing that light at you. You look at that light and you start counting it. In a case of a Carrier, it's going to have a couple short flashes followed by long flashes. You look and you count up those flashes, and on the back of the panel, it actually tells us what those flashes mean. So if we have a flash of 2 short ones and 4 long ones, this cheat sheet tells us that's a fault code 24. Code 24 means that a limit or a fuse has popped. So it's nothing that you as the homeowner could fix, but something when you call up for service, say, hey, you know what? I've got a fault code. It says my fuse is popped. Can you come out and service my furnace? Now another fault code, say like a 33, is saying that there's a limit trip, that you may have a dirty air filter. You could read that on this list here and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go check my filter, pull the cover off, pull the filter out, and lo and behold, you'll see it's completely dirty and plugged up. Change your filter, you reset the power to your furnace, and everything works good again. Now you just saved yourself a service call out to your house. So the little things that you can check to go ahead and be proactive about the maintenance of your system and make sure everything's working good will help you avoid costly repairs, and it will also extend the life of your equipment. So with any other tips or comments that you may have, feel free to call your local Carrier contractor. Otherwise, you can visit us on the web at www.carriercomfortteam.com.